As a historical up-host, Wen Mang frequently receives fan support and feed, but it's not surprising that the ones who like and give gifts are all the main characters in the video. Liu Bei. How could the founder of Shu Han state have lost the hand of Adou, and even the statue was thrown out of the Wuhou Temple? Guan Yu. The Seven Armies, which were submerged in water and shook China, want to relocate the capital of the Chao bandits they fought against. Look at me, Wusheng Sanxing Yanhan. Zhang Fei. My old Zhang feels bitter in his heart. The military strategist is a short-lived ghost, and my second brother has already passed away. My eldest brother's son is not up to par, right? What about me Zhao Yun? 7 in and 7 out, who is the enemy? Who doesn't know Zhao Zilong from Shijiazhuang? Kong Ming. What kind of aircraft carrier are you talking about for the light curtain? This Three Kingdoms seems a bit different. Keywords of the novel. Spoiler history. Starting from the Three Kingdoms with no pop-ups, spoiler history. Starting from the Three Kingdoms, download the complete TV series, spoiler history. Starting from the Three Kingdoms, read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. My second brother is invincible in the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. My second brother is invincible in the world. Pour cold cola into a glass, cut 2 thin lemon slices and add them. Wait for the bubbling bubbles in the glass to calm down, then Wen Mang picks up the glass and takes a big sip. Cool. In August, Los Angeles is in the midst of summer, and the endless cicadas, wilting trees, and steaming heat outside the window are its best business cards. Drinking Binqualu in an air-conditioned room at this time is definitely the first pleasure in life. Of course, it would be even better if there were no reminders from 13 editors. After graduating, Wen Mang joined the Magic City and left with a gloomy mood after several rounds of intense waves. Fortunately, the video editing skills learned in 2 years will not starve to death on the streets. After the last resignation, I simply go back to my hometown to rest and cut videos to earn money for buying Binqual. In video editing, Wen Mang is not considered a novice. After returning to his hometown, he polished his video within a week. Strategic analysis of the possible unification of Shu Han. The production cost of cultural and historical videos is not high, and I am familiar with the basic materials myself. Moreover, I have chosen popular Three Kingdoms themes, which are very suitable for throwing them out to explore new paths. Now that everything is ready, there's only upload left. Whether we can drink Binqualu every day in the future depends on this experience. After packaging the video, Wen Mang danced and chose to upload it to 13 sites. But perhaps it was extreme joy that brought sorrow. The swinging arm accidentally knocked over the cup, and lemon ice flew out. The keyboard, mouse, and monitor were scattered everywhere. Wen Mang let out a mournful cry and rushed forward. This was all he had. After hastily wiping it off, he repeatedly confirmed that the computer was still running normally, and Wen Mang finally felt relieved. After watching the video, it was still in the process of uploading. Wen Mang wiped off the stains and carried his cup to the kitchen to wash it. What he didn't see when he left the study was a faint blue light flashing across the computer screen. Coordinates located. Deviation device confirmation in progress. Deviation device confirmed. Anchoring time. Confirmed, anchoring time. 209 AD, anchor target. Zhuge Liang, in the winter of the 14th year of Jianan, Zhuge Liang, who had been busy all day in Gong'an County, Jingzhou, poked his head out of a document and asked. Zilong, are you hungry? Let's see General Zilong with extraordinary aura, holding a scroll of military tactics and reading it on the side. Upon hearing this, he smiled and said. If you're hungry, master, I'll have someone bring the soup and cake first. Zhuge Liang, who is only 28 years old now, smiled lightly and shook his head. Fortunately, the Time Master and his team should be back soon, just wait and see. As soon as Zhuge Liang finished speaking, he heard hearty laughter coming in. Kong Ming. Liu Bei, with a tall figure, came in and brought a gust of wind, causing the flames of the stove to sway and almost extinguish. As you expected. Second brother has sent the news, and that southern county will be conquered in no time. Military strategists are truly the lucky stars of preparation. Liu Bei couldn't help but recall his experiences over the past 2 years with excitement, feeling as if they were a dream. Last year, the 800,000-strong army of Cao bandits chased after him, thinking it was time for his death. As a result, his third brother drank off the Dangyang Bridge and retreated to pursue him. Kong Ming successfully allied with the Jiangdong tongue battle scholars, and in the end, Zhou Lang completely burned down Cao bandits' ambition with a fire in Chibi. Now, just 1 year has passed, and I have led the 4 counties of Jingzhou. The 3 famous officials, Guan, Zhang, and Zhao, are well known throughout the world. It was only then that Kong Zhizhi became well known in the eastern part of the Yangtze River, and there were even people under my command who came to invest. Today, I received a letter from my second brother Guan Yu, stating that Cao Ren, who was defending Nanjun, had shown signs of fatigue and would soon be able to conquer Nanjun and sweep the forces of Cao bandits back to the north of the river. The only concern was that the governor of Zhou was accidentally injured by a stray arrow while commanding the siege the day before yesterday. Let the kitchen prepare food and drinks. Tonight I will have a long conversation with the military commander all night. Liu Bei waved his big hand and was very excited. He took over Kong Ming tonight and will definitely sleep with his feet. The temporary residence in Gong'an County is not large, and the dining area cannot accommodate others after the 3 people sit down and then place a heater and screen. According to Chinese customs, it is a small banquet, so before eating, something must be said. Liu Bei, who was also familiar with the road, raised his wine glass and gestured to Kong Ming and Zilong. Now that Bei can have this meager career, it all depends on the military and Zilong's ability to be both civil and military. I hope that in the future, we can also be sincere and united, and revive the Han dynasty. And just as Uncle Liu finished speaking, a rectangular light curtain suddenly pulled out in front of the 3 people in the hall, leaving them stunned. Is this something that the late emperors of the Han dynasty felt? Is it auspicious from heaven? This was the only explanation that Liu Bei thought of. But this light curtain doesn't care about the thoughts of the 3 people present. As the content of the light curtain changes, a gentle music also plays, followed by a male voice. Young and old men. Girls and sisters. I'm Wen Mang, and I'm also a fan of Shu Han. Today, let's talk about the possibility of unifying Shu Han from a strategic perspective. As is well known, the Shu Han dynasty began with Liu Bei proclaiming himself emperor in Chengdu in 221 AD, and in 263 AD, Liu Chan surrendered and was defeated by the army of Cao Wei. The country lasted for 43 years, 2 years after the downfall of Shu Han, the downfall of Cao Wei, and 17 years after the downfall of Sun Wu. All 3 protagonists of the 3 kingdoms period became losers. The land of China ushered in the Jin dynasty, which was plagued by the consumption of scattered stones, and the chaos of the 5 barbarians, the 16 kingdoms, the northern and southern dynasties, and other destructive events, which are unbearable to look back on. The speed of the light screen speech was not fast, and although there were some misunderstandings in what was said, combined with the map switched on the light screen, Lu Zhao and Zhuge quickly understood the general truth. Liu Bei proclaimed himself emperor, Liu Chan fell, and soon after, the 3 families of Cao, Liu, and Sun perished one after another. At this moment, Liu Bei's face was filled with great confusion. I am Liu Huangshu, a loyal minister of the Han dynasty. How could I declare myself emperor? Who wants to harm me? And the emperor is still here. May I become a rebellious subject and thief in the future? The confusion in Liu Bei's heart was like a tangled mess, constantly tearing and becoming more chaotic. But fortunately, Zhuge Liang understood. With a sweep of his robe sleeve, he cleaned up the dishes on the table, took a pen and paper from the side, and quickly sharpened the ink. Kong Ming may not fully understand or believe what Guan Yu said, but he can write it down first and then slowly ponder it. On the other hand, Zhao Zilong also acted the same way, and Kong Ming was extremely pleased to see it. Later, the two of them compared and filled in the gaps. But who created this Jin dynasty? Kong Ming was full of doubts and quickly calculated in his heart. After the Red Cliffs, Sun Wu was already considered a huge force. According to the Light Curtain, the Lord proclaimed himself emperor in Chengdu, which means that later we still took Yizhou as our foundation. The Lord defended Jingyi, while Sun Wu managed Jiangdong. The Chao bandits and tigers occupied the north, and the world was already divided into 3 parts. Where did the Jin dynasty emerge from? And in a short time, they successively destroyed the Liu, Chao, and Sun families. Without waiting for Kong Ming to ponder, after the Light Curtain display finished talking about the Jin dynasty, the topic turned back. When it comes to the possibility of the unification of Shu Han, most people believe that after Ma Su lost Jieding, Shu Han had already exhausted his strength. But let me say, since Sun Quan gave Guan Yu's head to Cao Cao, Sun Wu had already lost the possibility of unifying China before Shu Han Liu Bei. After hearing his own declaration of emperor and national throne earlier, Liu Bei had a premonition that he would eventually mention his own death, but he didn't expect to hear the news of his second younger brother's departure first. My second brother is invincible in the world. Right. Newcomers on the road seek attention and collection. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Jianghuai and Jiangdong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Jianghuai and Jiangdong. Originally, after a banquet, the living room was filled with joy, but the Light Curtain directly caused the indoor temperature to drop by more than 10 degrees, as if a cold wind had started. Jiangdong rat generation, you are truly untrustworthy. Sun Quan. I swear to kill you. Liu Bei was furious, and Kong Ming comforted him gently. Master, don't worry. I have been following the thatched cottage for more than 2 years now, and Kong Ming is very clear about the relationship between the 3 sworn brothers. Since what this Light Curtain says is something that has not yet happened in the future. Isn't it that the ancestors of the Han family were warning the Lord to let General Guan avoid this disaster? After a series of good advice and persuasion, Liu Bei's intelligence was finally elevated again. The second younger brother's handwritten letter on his chest also reminded him. Second younger brother is now following Zhou Gongjin to fight against Nanjun, lively and lively. After calming down, Liu Bei's mood became even more uneasy. Kong Ming. Can we actually become corrupt officials and thieves in the future? Kong Ming couldn't answer, and the words on the screen were still speaking at his own pace. We all know that Dongwu was a political regime established by external forces in the Jianghuai region to suppress local forces in Jiangdong. In other words, it was to cut off the leaks of local aristocrats and give positions to subordinates such as Qingpu and Han Dang. History records that Sun Tzu was killed by the 3 disciples of Su Gong, but it is not explicitly stated in history how these 3 disciples infiltrated Jiangdong and accurately found the fallen Sun Tzu, as well as who prepared the weapons for them. However, we have reason to believe that the wealthy families of Jiangdong played a very disgraceful role in it. Sun Quan and Sun Tzu have similar paths, neither decisive nor persistent, and their methods tend to be gentle. However, the wealthy families in Jiangdong will not forget their blood debts to the Sun family, and Sun Quan will not quickly turn the wealthy families in Jiangdong into confidants. This is the root cause of the turmoil in the Sun Wu region in Jiangdong. Accurate. Kong Ming praised while copying, deeply impressed by the internal contradictions of the Sun Wu group. Before the Battle of Red Cliffs, the interior of Jiangdong was like burning oil, and the grudges between the Jianghuai faction and the Jiangdong aristocratic tribes were almost irreconcilable. The Jiangdong aristocrats do not care whether the lord's surname is Sun or Chao. Sun Quan, Zhou Yu, and other foreign Jianghuai factions are determined to fight the Chao bandits to the end. In this situation, Kong Ming went on an envoy to Jiangdong, and the eloquent scholars temporarily tied the wealthy Jiangdong tribe to Sun Quan's chariot, ultimately achieving a great victory in Chibi. So how did the fragile balance between local and foreign factions in Jiangdong be broken? To understand this, one must first pay attention to a person who is often overlooked in the Red Cliff. Feng Chu Pang Tong, who is on par with Zhuge Liang of Wulong. Pang Tong is well known to everyone, but the impression of fans still lingers on offering a series of strategies to assist Zhou Yu in a fire attack. Later, he joined Liu Bei and ultimately died at Lufengpo, which can be called an early death at a young age. Pang Tong voted for me. Liu Bei's face burst into an indescribable smile, and he had always been in a state of thirst for talent, often feeling that his subordinates were not enough. When Sima Wei met Sima Hui back then, he said, "There are always dragons and phoenix chicks here." Unexpectedly, both of them eventually came under his command. As for dying at Lufengpo in the future, it doesn't matter at all. Will it be enough to strictly prohibit him from approaching Luofeng Slope afterwards? Lufengpo is not a good name at first glance. How could Shi Yuan be so careless? Liu Bei had already begun to sigh deeply for his future strategist. But unveiling the veil of romance, Pang Tong was an authentic Jingzhou native. Pang Digong was a descendant of the Xianyang clan in Jingzhou, and later was also conscripted as a meritorious official. Strictly speaking, he could be considered a vassal of Liu Biao. Later, Boss Chao's army of 800,000 soldiers drove over, and several counties in Jingzhou became a state of separatism. Later, when Zhou Yu attacked Nan County, Pang Tong directly became Zhou Yu's subordinate official. Have you noticed anything from the audience? That's right, Pang Tong's slippery change of camp is spicy. Looking deeper, this is actually a form of loyalty from the local aristocrats in Jingzhou. After the Battle of Red Cliffs, Zhou Yu's reputation was well known all over the world, and his deterrent power was directly reduced. What else could he do without loyalty? You should know that Zhou Yu was once a member of the Jiangdong Haozu tribe who was killed together with Sun Tzu. Jingzhou and Jiangdong are neighbors, and they are familiar with these things. But unfortunately, Zhou Yu died soon after, and Pang Tong went a long way to Jiangdong to mourn Zhou Yu. After that, he directly defected to Liu Bei. It is not difficult to guess the inside story, and Pang Tong mostly represented Jingzhou in negotiating terms in the past, and ultimately did not reach an agreement. By the way, this section of the romance also includes a joke about Zhuge Liang's 3-Qi Zhou Yu. Of course, we all know it is a fabrication of the romance. In history, Zhou Yu has a magnificent and elegant temperament, and is praised as a hero in the world, a charming and beautiful husband in the Jianghuai region. As for the cause of death, according to official records, Zhou Yu was hit by a falling arrow while attacking Nanjun. The following year, he passed away in Baiqiu while on his way to Sichuan. Most likely, he contracted inflammation after being hit by the arrow and was unable to recover, leading to his final death. 3-Qi Zhou Yu. Zhuge Liang was stunned. What stage is this? And why should I be angry with Zhou Yu? Zhou Gongjin is now the governor of Dongwu. He just defeated Cao Cao and defeated Cao Ren by capturing Nanjun. He has the same reputation, but on the side of Duke Xuande. It can't be said that he has nothing now, it can only be said that he is a destitute family and has no grudges against Zhou Yu. Zhou Gongjin's life is not long. Liu Bei murmured. Light Curtain had just said a lot, but he didn't mention Zhou Yu at all. Liu Bei was still puzzled at the time, but he didn't expect it to be an early death. Sun Quan lost a right arm, and it can be foreseen that it would be even more difficult to control the wealthy family in Jiangdong. Zhao Zilong sat quietly on the side, recording what the Light Curtain said and not easily expressing his opinions. The death of Zhou Yu led to a series of consequences, such as the fact that the Jingzhou aristocrats, who were originally only able to lie down and be dogs in front of Zhou Yu, dared to negotiate terms with Sun Quan, the saying of being a dog on the ground. Liu Bei shook his head and intended to say it was absurd, but in the end, he changed to a more friendly word. It's insulting to be refined. This ancestor's manifestation seems to show us something from the future generations. Kong Ming even shook his feather fan in winter and smiled, just like the pre-Qin dynasty did not care about King Zhou's Shang Tang. Perhaps our literati at this time are not worth mentioning to the younger generation. What do the aristocratic families in Jingzhou want? All the great powers from ancient times to the present have wanted more or less autonomy, and imperial power does not go to the countryside. It's refreshing to think about it. In fact, the aristocratic families in Jingzhou have also succeeded. After Liu Biao's death, Cai Mao and Zhang Yun elected Liu Cong, the daughter of the Cai family, to succeed as the governor of Jingzhou, achieving the goal of Jingzhou's great powers controlling Jingzhou themselves. Now that Zhou Yu is dead, it is impossible for Sun Quan to promise autonomy to the aristocratic families in Jingzhou. Therefore, Jingzhou people have found a new target. Liu Bei. At that time, there was no one under Liu Huangshu's command, and taking over Jingzhou, whether willing or not, had to rely on the powerful forces of Jingzhou. Moreover, Liu Biao's experience may also be replicated in Liu Huangshu. Therefore, after Pang Tong defected to Liu Bei, the later borrowing of Jingzhou became a matter of following the tide and pushing the boat. The powerful forces of Jingzhou were both loyal and treacherous to Sun Quan, and Sun Quan himself was eager to get rid of this burden and focus on dealing with the internal conflicts that erupted due to the death of Zhou Yu. From 208 AD to 219 AD, this was a period of rapid development for Liu Bei. He gained control of Yizhou in his territory, and Huang Zhong and Ma Chao surrendered in talent gathering. In military affairs, he achieved a great victory in the Battle of Hanzhong, with Huang Zhong's formation beheading Xiahou Yuan and Guan Yu flooding the Seven Armies, which shook China. As the saying goes, he is both afraid of his brothers suffering and afraid of them leading the way. So Liu Bei's uncle, Sun Quan, cannot sit still. Lv Meng and Lu Sun teamed up to play a white-clothed river crossing game, launching a deadly surprise attack on their allies, completely taking Jingzhou and beheading Guan Yu and Guan Ping in the same year that Guan Iri was killed by a surprise attack. Lv Meng also cooperated very well and passed away. Therefore, 2 years later when Liu Bei attacked Wu, Lu Sun became the only choice to lead the troops. After the Battle of Yiling, Lu Sun burned down the company's camp for 800 miles, and Sun Wu inevitably fell into a situation where the host and guest abdicated, leading to an increasingly fierce struggle between the Jiangdong aristocrats and the Sun Wu royal family in the later period, ultimately leading to their downfall. A regime busy with internal strife, how can it unify the world? Liu Bei looked at the scene in the light curtain with a trance. Zhou Yu, who had a handsome face, lay in Xiao Qiao's arms, feeling as angry as a thread, and sighed, "Since you are born, why are you born bright?" Pang Tong, who looked unattractive, was struck by an arrow in his chest and looked at the sky helplessly, sighing, "Today's death is fate." Another talented figure, Liu Bei, was crowned emperor in Chengdu, and then the scene changed. A group of Sun Wu soldiers disguised themselves as merchants crossed the river, and in the end, the Guanzi flag on the city was chopped off and crushed into powder in muddy water. Another, second younger brother, was ordered by Sun Quan to have his head chopped off and presented to Cao Cao, while another, Liu Bei, became angry and mobilized his troops. As a result, he looked at the raging fire in Yiling and his face turned to ashes. The screen turned again, and Liu Bei looked like a blank paper as he explained his dying words to Kong Ming. If the heir can assist, you can assist. If you are not talented, you can take it yourself. Therefore, in the view of the up-owner, after Yiling, Sun Wu completely lost the world. Okay, that's all for this issue. Follow and like, don't get lost. In the next issue, let's continue to talk about how the Chao family lost this world. Is this mine, and the future of the Han dynasty? Liu Bei said in a hesitant voice. An ally stabbed in the back, his second brother was beheaded, and he died of a heart attack from being burned by someone. At the beginning of the light curtain, the opening point further illustrates that the Ji Han, too, he established died, and although the world was divided into 3 parts, it ultimately returned to Jin. Master, why don't you follow and like me? Kong Ming reminded while organizing the manuscript he had just hastily jotted down. It seems that these few words are the key to continuing to see the manifestation of his ancestors. Liu Bei looked bewildered as he tried to learn from the icons on the light screen and gestured with a thumbs up. So. A golden light flashed on the screen, followed by a text. Update the next video in 1 month. Liu Bei let go of his worries. It seemed that he had done it right by mistake, but then he became troubled by another matter. Kong Ming, do you think we need to add some sacrifices? Master, don't worry. Kong Ming pondered for a moment and boldly said, from Liang's perspective, most of the people in this light curtain come from later generations. We are actually his ancestors, so it's best not to have 3 livestock or 6 livestock. That's reasonable. Liu Bei clapped his hands. At least he had also studied under Liu Ji's sect before, and then he had an idea. He looked around and decided to simply remove the jade pendant from his waist. Since we are facing the younger generation, it's not appropriate to have 3 livestock and 6 livestock. It's better to face them with a calm mind. Liu Bei simply pulled out a piece of paper, dipped it in ink and wrote a note, and handed it to the light curtain along with the jade pendant, saying, "Future generations, all of your messages are priceless treasures. We hope you will show more spirit. The value of this jade pendant is not worth mentioning, so let's thank you first." The light curtain seemed to have understood, and a flash of light flashed by, and the jade pendant in Liu Bei's hand had disappeared. As the matter came to an end, Kong Ming frowned and looked at the text of the light screen language recorded in his hand, whispering, "Lord, if there is such a manifestation, it's best to quickly recall General Guan and General Zhang to come back and discuss. We need to make detailed plans for the next step." "Ah, that's what I planned for too." Liu Bei also knew clearly how important and powerful intelligence was to have an advantage in the future, and at this moment, he rarely showed a bold and confident side. "Kong Ming, we will definitely not let the tragedy of my second brother repeat itself." Cute New on the road, seeking collection and attention. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Adou is also not competitive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Adou is also not competitive, Mr. Wen Mang. Here's your package. When would it be convenient for you to come and pick it up? Wen Mang wiped the sweat off his forehead, feeling like he could sweat 2 pounds when he went out this season. The fan gift written on the packaging. The packaging was opened layer by layer, and surprisingly, inside the small package lay a jade pendant with a soft luster shining. The overall shape of the jade pendant is a completely hollow circle, with a dragon ring that curves 2 times from head to tail, and small glass dragons wrapped around the dragon body, which is quite exquisite. Lilong Jade Pendant. Wen Mang quickly retrieved the knowledge points he had previously read from his mind. The workmanship is quite good. Wen Mang touched the jade pendant twice and concluded. Yiwu Premium Goods. A certain treasure is estimated to cost at least 25 yuan. Under the jade pendant, there was still a note pressed down. Upon opening it, Wen Mang saw the neat official script of the workers. A jade pendant as a token of respect. Liu Bei, the Marquis of Yicheng Pavilion, the Left General of Han, was appointed as the governor of Jingzhou. Is this a new way of immersive communication? Wen Mang is a bit uncertain. But the final decision was to take it seriously and put it away. After all, it was also the first time I received a fan gift, and the commemoration was of great significance. After thinking for a while, Wen Mang still took out his phone and clicked 2 photos to upload to 13 websites, accompanied by written reflections. What Wen Mang didn't notice was that there was an extra blurry line of font in the upper right corner of his account. Historical deviation value. 0 inch. In the 14th year of Jianan, Jingzhou Gongnan County was established. Since the last time the light curtain appeared, Kong Ming simply moved his office location to this side hall. It has been a full 20 days since the last appearance of the Light Curtain, and Kong Ming usually studies the language of the Light Curtain in addition to handling official affairs in the 4 counties of Jingzhou. At this moment, a waiter reported, "Master, the Lord and the 3 generals have returned together. Hurry up and invite us to the meeting." The 3 generals are naturally Guan, Zhang, and Zhao. After the end of the Light Curtain, Liu Bei and Zhao Yun went to inspect the 4 counties of Jingzhou together. Now that the 4 corners have been preliminarily determined, the extermination of bandits and the pacification of the people are all things that Liu Bei cannot do. Now that we are returning together, it seems that we have met General Guan and General Zhang, who returned from our class. It seems that the battle in Nanjun has been decided. Quickly, Liu Bei, who was tall and tall, Guan Yu, who had a heavy jujube face, Zhang Fei, who had a swallow's chin and tiger beard, and Zhao Yun, who had a broad and heavy face, all crowded into this small side hall. "Big brother. What are we doing crowded in this small side hall for? We can't even hold a celebration banquet here." Zhang Fei was the first to speak up. During the war, Zhang Fei ordered him to abstain, but he also had a bit of a thirst for alcohol in his spare time. Therefore, after the end of the Nanjun War, Zhang Fei has been thinking about the celebration banquet for his return, at least for a day. No, 3 days. But before Zhang Fei could finish complaining, a light curtain suddenly spread out in mid-air in the hall, leaving Guan Zhang and his companion stunned. Kong Ming, Liu Bei, and Zhao Yun looked intently, and this time the light curtain did not have the same dynamic scene as last time. There were only a few simple sentences accompanied by a few vivid pictures. "Received the Lilong jade pendant sent by my fan friend. It's a very beautiful Han-style jade pendant that Up really likes. But I still have to persuade you, 1 click and 3 combos are enough, and you still need to restrain yourself from giving rewards for money and other things." Below are 4 palace grid pictures of the Lilong jade pendant and a few comments. Surprised, did the newcomer get fans to feed him so quickly? The video viewpoint of the Up host is quite interesting, but I think Sun Wu doesn't need to argue so much. Just being a Xiaoyao Jin war god is enough to be embarrassing indeed. 100,000 soldiers could be countered by Zhang Liao's 800 elite soldiers and almost beheaded as the commander-in-chief. This family alone is worthy of Sun 100,000's reputation. Upstairs, it is said in the romance that Sun Quan was almost beheaded, but it is really outrageous that 800 elite soldiers repelled 100,000 troops. Ji Han is indeed the most hopeful, but unfortunately, Brother Liang worked tirelessly and personally endured himself to death. On the other hand, his old rival Sima Yi lived to the age of 72 before dying. Last month, when I went to the Wuhou Temple in Chengdu, I saw a couplet that said, 2 tables pay 3 looks, 1 pair of feet for thousands of years is truly touching. The Prime Minister will last forever. However, how could there be Lu Chen in the Wuhou Temple without Lu Chan? The Wuhou Temple can all be called the loyalty and martyrdom of Shu Han. Is Lu Chan worthy? Even if you stay inside, you won't feel ashamed and panicked. There aren't many comments, but the message capacity is already large enough. After carefully copying the pictures, text, and comments posted by Wen Mang, Zhuge Liang announced with a solemn expression. Next, let's discuss the issue of General Guan Yu's death together. Liu Bei smiled and looked at his invincible second place in the world. The invincible second younger brother looked at his older brother with a bewildered expression on his face. "Big brother. Am I dead?" "That's right, you're dead." "How did I die?" Liu Bei thought back and said, "I was guarding Jingzhou and was ambushed by Lu Sun and Lu Meng. In the end, I was beheaded by Sun Quan." Guan Yu looked dumbfounded at Zhuge Liang and said, "Master, my elder brother." Kong Ming waved his feather fan and said, "Your Highness, every word is true. General Guan, please take a look at this." After speaking, he handed over a booklet, which was Kong Ming's pre-organized light curtain speech. On the cover was, "Analyzing the possible unification of Shu Han from a strategic perspective." A thin booklet is full of amazing words. Guan Yu has always collapsed in front of Mount Taishan without changing his color, but the first page of the booklet also made him stare. What is said here? That's exactly what we're going to discuss next. Kong Ming waved his hand and said, General Guan, what's wrong with Governor Zhou Gongjin's health? Guan Yu and Zhang Fei exchanged a glance and attacked Nanjun, leading the way. As a result, they also saw the scene of Zhou Yu being shot with arrows. That night, rumors spread everywhere, and the next day, Zhou Gongjin personally patrolled the camp, and the rumors broke through without breaking through. But this behavior was more like covering up the truth, adding a touch of worry to Guan Yu's heart. Chao Ren, who was hiding in the city, was unaware of these things. In the following days, Jiangdong's army became more and more fierce in attacking the city, but on the contrary, Zhou Gongjin's appearance time became less and less. Fortunately, Nanjun was already at the end of the strong crossbow, and in just 10 days, he successfully broke through the city. Chao Ren abandoned the city and fled. Jingzhou was conquered, and my elder brother wrote another letter stating that there was a major matter. After being closed, he had to resign and Zhou Gongjin returned quickly. Did you ever see Governor Zhou when the two generals bid farewell? Kong Ming asked. No. Guan Yu shook his head and said, when we parted ways, I and my third brother were personally accompanied by the commander. He said that after the commander broke the city, his affairs were busy, and if we were impolite, we would definitely treat him well when we meet again. Is that, Qinsui, surnamed Pang Mingtong? Is this really this person, old acquaintance of a military strategist? Kong Ming shook his feather fan and sighed, old friend of Nanyang, I didn't expect. According to the light curtain, next year Pang Tong will come to seek refuge with Duke Xuanda, and eventually die at a young age. This fate is also quite a stroke of fate. General Guan, this book is the secret recipe of our army. After reading it, pass it on to the three generals, and then we will discuss it. The topic of discussion is how to avoid General Guan being beheaded by Sun Quan. The thin booklet quickly passed from Guan Yu's hand to Zhang Fei's, and after Zhang Fei finished reading it, the largest voice of the Shu Han could not wait to speak. We also saw that LV Meng during the attack on Nanjun, but we didn't expect such a villain. Second brother, wait a moment, I will go and chop off LV Meng's head to avenge you. Third brother is not allowed. Guan Yu and Liu Bei stood up at the same time to persuade Zhang Fei. But the black man, like an iron tower, was now in tears. Big brother. Second brother. Our three brothers formed a brotherly alliance with Jinlan, but we all hoped to die on the same day, the same year, the same month, but we didn't expect second brother to die at the hands of villains. Big brother failed to avenge second brother, and he ended up depressed. It's okay to leave me, old Zhang, to live alone. I didn't expect that the military strategist would also be short-lived. Big brother's son, Adou, is also not up to par. He defeated the foundation laid by our three brothers in just 40 years. My old Zhang, I feel bitter in my heart. Cute new on the road, seeking attention and collection, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. Big Uncle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Big Uncle, Adou is also a bad person. The atmosphere in the small side hall is solemn. Although Zhang Fei didn't stop him, Liu Bei still chose to forgive him. As it was still winter, a warm stove was lit in the hall as usual. Lu Guan, Zhang, Zhao Zhuge, and 5 others knelt around the short table, with sour plums, persimmons, and other snacks on the table, as well as a few cakes and tea soup. Kong Ming also copied 3 copies of the oral content of the auspicious light curtain, which happened to be in everyone's hands. Liu Bei sighed. The light curtain didn't reveal much, but the words, Lu Chan faced the surrender and destruction of the Chao Wei army, still pierced deep in his heart like a thorn, scratching deeply. My lord doesn't need to be like this, Kong Ming comforted. Perhaps Adou is a benevolent and kind ruler who surrendered to prevent his people from being harmed by swords and weapons. That makes sense. But Kong Ming understood instantly, and this was when the Lord touched another thorn called proclaiming emperor. Liu Bei had always taken it as his responsibility to revive the Han dynasty, but now he suddenly learned that he had been proclaimed emperor for several years and his original goal was Duke Zhou. Unexpectedly, he seemed to have become Wang Mang. This suddenly made it difficult for him to accept. Have you ever thought about the term light curtain for Chow thief, my lord? Kong Ming smiled. Liu Bei recalled, Shu Han was conquered by Chow Wei, and it seems that this Wei was a national name just like the Han of Shu Han. That's right. Kong Ming knocked on the table and said, in the original words of the light curtain, the three protagonists of the Three Kingdoms period all became losers. Let's not talk about that gene for now. Since they called us the Three Kingdoms at this time, it should be that the Chao bandits and the Sun family in Jiangdong also proclaimed themselves emperors. The Han dynasty's authority has fallen to this point. Liu Bei sighed. If it was the first time Sun Chao proclaimed himself emperor, he must have been furious, but seeing the light curtain's words that all three kingdoms were ultimately destroyed by Jin, he was able to calmly look at the matter from a different perspective. The revival of the Han dynasty can only rely on big brothers, Zhang Fei commented while eating persimmons. Liu Bei felt a hint of relief, truly deserving of being his Jinlan brothers. It's a pity that Adou is not up to par, Zhang Fei continued. Liu Bei's face turned black again. Can we skip this one for now? I think it should be the ambition of the Chao thieves and the wolves, who acted recklessly and proclaimed themselves as Wei. After becoming the Prince Jing of Zhongshan, the Lord raised the flag of the Han dynasty again. In order to compete with each other, Jiangdong also took the crown, thus becoming the Three Kingdoms tripod. Kong Ming concluded by half pushing and half guessing. Then in the end, we finished playing with our eldest nephew, Adou, and we both got a discount on the Jin dynasty. Zhang Fei took another bite of the persimmon cake and summarized it. Liu Bei felt a bit uninterested for a moment, and suddenly felt that he should let his third brother get drunk on his own today, maybe it would be good for everyone. Don't talk about these boring things, didn't the military advisor say it? Today we're going to discuss how to save second brother. Zhang Fei stood up and loudly said, let's discuss LV Meng and Lu Sun. Indeed, that's true. Kong Ming nodded and said, General Guan, since you and General Zhang met LV Meng during the attack on Nanjun, how do you observe him? Guan Yu's phoenix eyes widened slightly and said, he is a brave general. Kong Ming nodded. Guan Yu, who is naturally arrogant, is not accustomed to discussing others behind his back, but he has been accustomed to breaking down the meaning from his words for so many years. A brave general means that he is not a handsome talent, and the person he is facing is just a brave warrior. There is nothing to be afraid of such a person. Zhang Fei certainly understood the meaning and spoke out. Is the mastermind Lu Sun, who was infuriated to death by a torch? Liu Bei. Guan Yu stopped stroking his beard and said, third brother, shut up. This Lu Sun is so outstanding, but why haven't we heard of him? Kong Ming tried to smooth it out. Have you ever seen a military commander sent to Jiangdong before? Liu Bei said curiously. Kong Ming pondered for a moment and added himself a cup of tea, then slowly said. Guanmu Yan claimed that Lu Sun was the representative of the Jiangdong aristocratic family, so he only had the possibility of coming from the Lu family in Wujuan. Last year when I was on an envoy to Jiangdong, I also met several Lu family members. Lu Ji was knowledgeable, Lu Mao was known for his talent in the countryside, and there was also an attendant named Lu Yi, who served as Marquis Wu. However, I never heard of someone named Lu Sun. For a moment, the small side hall fell into an awkward atmosphere. LV Meng is still a muscular general with muscles in his head, and Lu Sun, who caused the deaths of Guan Yu and Liu Bei, couldn't even find anyone. It's like a punch hitting the air. Liu Bei rubbed his face and said, "At least I know some good news. The next 10 years will be." "How did you say it?" "During the period of rapid development," Zhao Yun interjected, "over the past decade, my lord has crossed Jingyi, and General Ma Chao and General Huang Zhong have come to join us. Later, it seems that we are at war with the Chao bandits again. General Huang's army has beheaded Xiahou Yuan, and General Guan has flooded the Seventh Army." Zhang Fei blinked his eyes. "He was a fierce general of Shu Han, why didn't this light curtain even mention him? This is the differential treatment of red fruit. I want to appeal." Unfortunately, Guan Yu noticed that his third brother had an intention to speak up. A phoenix-eyed sword glanced over, and Zhang Fei could only temporarily pause. Liu Bei is actually very happy, and indeed he needs to listen to more good news. Flooding the Seventh Army. My second brother is truly invincible in the world, he is truly awe-inspiring in China. Slay Xiahou Yuan in formation. General Huang is really brave and extraordinary. Wait. Kong Ming, we met Huang Zhong at Brother Jing Xing's mansion before. How do I remember he was an old general? Liu Bei asked for confirmation. Indeed, that's true. Kong Ming was well versed in these things and had a strong memory of them. General Huang was already 60 years old at that time. I didn't expect such a brave veteran, exclaimed Liu Bei, 48 years old. Why not take the initiative to welcome such an old fierce general instead of waiting for him to take the initiative to pitch? Liu Bei had this idea in his heart and couldn't hold it back anymore. Now with the auspicious light screen calling for names, Lu Xuande can directly search for talents according to the list of light screens. Isn't that a one-time request? For example, Lu Sun, who was infuriated by the fire, instead of wasting time fighting in the Jiangdong cave, why not secretly invite him to join in the great cause of reviving the Han dynasty? Liu Bei's heart became hot again, but this idea needs to be temporarily suppressed. After that, he will first chat with the military commander to see how to put it. And at this moment, bored Zhang Fei continued to read down the paragraph read by Zhao Yun. The phrase, "I'm afraid my brothers will suffer, but I'm also afraid my brothers will lead the way," made Zhang Fei scratch his head. What is a Land Rover? Why use open characters? But Zhang Fei couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he saw the next sentence very clearly. Big brother. How could son Quan become your uncle? Kong Ming was content with this, as intermarriage between aristocrats was already commonplace, let alone the increasingly close alliance between Sun and Lu after the Red Cliff period. Does General Heir feel that the sister of Marquis Wu is not worthy of the Lord? Zhang Fei shook his head and said honestly. My elder brother is a hero in the world, and that two-faced and three-faced blue-eyed thief deserves to be my elder brother's uncle. So when I see that disloyal and unrighteous blue-eyed thief, shouldn't I also bend down and be petty? Just thinking about it makes me angry. Also, big brother, were you busy looking for a sister-in-law for me during the Battle of Red Cliffs? Cute new on the road, come and collect and follow. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sun Quan and Cao Bao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Sun Quan and Cao Bao. After jumping around, the four people in the room sat down again. Zhang Fei was happily sent to the kitchen by Liu Bei, with a smile on his face and a gust of wind in his footsteps when he left. How simple is the second brother's question? Find a chance to directly stab that LV Meng to death. Unfortunately, both the strategist and the elder brother do not agree. Why not find an opportunity to kill and report on your own? A few simple thoughts were swirling in his mind, and Zhang Fei planned to stay sober and not return tonight. In the quiet side hall, Liu Bei felt a splitting headache, but he still wanted to explain. Marquis Wu has a younger sister, but it is said that she looks like a pearl in her palm and is only in her 20s. How could she marry me? My lord, don't be humble. Kong Minglang laughed and said, My lord is now leading the pastoral area of Jingzhou, and in the future, he will also pacify Yizhou and promote the Han dynasty. How can he not be considered a hero? The Lord doesn't need to be too concerned, just let nature take its course. Kong Ming didn't say everything, but everyone present understood the meaning. Although Lady Gan survived the Battle of Nagasaki Slope, she was frightened and fell seriously ill. Her health had deteriorated significantly and she needed to be served day by day. Similarly, in the Battle of Nagasaki Slope, Lady Mi entrusted Adou to throw herself into a well and die, which is truly regrettable. Nowadays, there is no caring person on Liu Bei's side to take care of, and his position as a legitimate wife is vacant. If he could have a new wife, these civil and military officials would be more at ease. Liu Bei remained noncommittal and turned his gaze to the last paragraph of the Light Curtain record, which was the content that was once again revealed by the Light Curtain today, and the content was very eye-catching. Sun 100000. A 100000 strong army was repelled by 800 elite soldiers. Zhao Yun and Guan Yu can all be called veteran generals on the battlefield, and Kong Ming is also a person who knows the military. Seeing this news, it is inevitable to doubt life. Sun Quan's army is 100,000, 100,000. Even if it's 100,000 pieces of noodles and cakes, Zhang Liao will have to gnaw on them for half a month while squatting down. Kong Ming first expressed his doubts, isn't it because the future generations have been too far away from us that they recorded a deviation? 800 to 100,000, even if the Marquis of Huayin is reincarnated, it is impossible. Zhao Yun attempts to literally decompose. 100,000 troops are mostly just 100,000, and the actual number may only be 60 or 80,000. The maximum number of soldiers that can be fought is only 20,000, but 20,000 against 800. Guan Yu stroked his beard and pondered for a moment, saying, military strength is not the only factor that determines victory or defeat, just like how Zhou Gongjin of Red Cliff defeated the 800,000-strong army of Chao bandits. When Yuan and I are old acquaintances who know the military. If he leads 800 soldiers from Bingzhou and the enemy's generals are like Cao Bao, then Zhang Wen Yuan will fight bravely and win a great victory. Guan Yu was very cautious, but a few people present calculated and said, hey. Maybe there really is a play. A fierce general led an 800-strong and fearless personal guard to attack tens of thousands of mobs, and the opposing generals were still a group of rascals. It seems not surprising to win in this situation. Just later, Marquis Wu turned out to be like Cao Bao. Liu Bei was surprised. After Cao Bao arrived in Shuzhou, he left a deep impression on Liu Bei. First, he led the elite troops of Danyang to be defeated by Xiahou Dun. Later, he welcomed LV Bu into the city, which led to the change of ownership of Shuzhou. On paper, cowardly and incompetent, with 2 sides and 3 knives. It can be said that a person is as simple as a haystack as their name suggests, but how can such a haystack stand shoulder to shoulder with Sun Quan? Big brother, don't forget what Light Curtain said. In the future, the internal conflicts between the Jianghuai sect and the Jiangdong aristocratic tribes will become increasingly fierce. Guan Yu shook his head and almost caught a glimpse of the truth. Jiangdong's wealthy families are mostly private soldiers, and they will inevitably cherish their infantry and refuse to charge during battles. However, the Jianghuai faction, seeing that they are hesitant to advance, naturally does not risk their lives to charge. Therefore, before the war begins, their military morale is already exhausted. And Wen Yuan was a fierce general who treated his soldiers like brothers. If he fought bravely in battle, his own soldiers would inevitably die one after another. With such 2 sides facing each other, how could the troops of Marquis Wu win? Just like General Zilong, Guan Yu said and arched his hand at Zhao Yun, although there were 3 younger brothers raiding the formation on Changbanpo, General Zilong was fearless and invincible. The Chao army, who advanced 7 times and fought 7 times, was cowardly. If described like this, wouldn't General Zilong be able to defeat 10,000 with one enemy? Zhao Yun quickly arched his hand to show humility, while Liu Bei clenched Zhao Yun's hands tightly. Only on the slope of Nagasaka do we know that Zilong is truly an unparalleled general. However, despite saying so, Liu Bei inexplicably added in his heart. Unfortunately, rescuing Adou is useless. Zhao Yun, on the other hand, was full of emotion and a little unclear. So, why did the protagonist's smile become so far-fetched? Zhang Fei is not here, so several people are clever enough to ignore the next two light screen comments. But by the way, how could there be Lu Chen in the Wuhou Temple without Lu Chan? The Wuhou Temple can all be called the loyalty and martyrdom of Shu Han. Is Lu Chan worthy? Even if you stay inside, you won't feel ashamed and panicked. From this perspective, the Wuhou Temple is like an ancestral temple, where one can enjoy incense and offerings forever. Later generations seem to regard Lu Chan as a traitor to the Shu Han dynasty, and even refuse to allow him to enter the ancestral temple. Without passing the test, Zhao and his companions instinctively exchanged a glance. If we were to talk about the loyalty and martyrdom of Shu Han, should they be considered? After death, he was enshrined in the eternal sacrifice, which seems quite good. Liu Bei's mood is very complicated. On the one hand, it is because Lu Chan has once again refreshed his sense of existence in front of him, which also indicates how unsuccessful his son's education has been. On the other hand, it is discovered that after countless years, even with the vicissitudes of dynasties, the people on this land still have not forgotten him and the group of people who fought tirelessly for the Flame Han. He once sighed at the revival of his legs and flesh, hesitated due to the decline of the Han dynasty, was ridiculed by the wealthy families of Jiangdong, betrayed lightly by Liu Biao and Tao Qian's subordinates, and chased away by Cao Cao. But now this light curtain tells him in such casual words that these years of perseverance are valuable. People who care about the Han family have not forgotten him, and future generations have not forgotten him either. A simple meeting ultimately did not yield any clear results. Even though it is now known that the ally of Dongwu is unreliable, there is no reason or strength to turn a blind eye, and we still need to continue our cooperation. Guan Yu and Zhao Yun left together with plans to study military strategy or hone their martial arts skills. In the future, they will not only fight against Sun Wu but also against Chao bandits. The two of them have no intention of giving up these merits to others. Who can resist the temptation of sitting in an ancestral temple and enjoying incense and sacrificial offerings? Kong Ming, on the other hand, continued to handle official duties in the side hall, while also planning to study the internal contradictions of Eastern Wu based on the language of the light curtain in his spare time. He had a premonition that future generations would summarize the internal contradictions of a power so simply, and there must be a complete set of theories and methods involved, which he was very interested in. Liu Bei rushed out and planned to write a letter to Ma Chao first, so it wouldn't be wrong to establish a relationship first. As for Huang Zhong, who happened to be in the 4 counties of Jingzhou today, Liu Bei planned to come directly to pay homage to the virtuous soldiers and show his sincerity. Coincidentally, as soon as I left, I bumped into a maid holding a 2-year-old Adou. Adou's small face was full of smiles and he said, "Daddy, hold on." With a joyful expression on Liu Bei's face, he pulled Adou and placed him on his lap. With a crackling sound, his palms were imprinted on Adou's buttocks, causing him to cry like killing a pig. "Dad, Dou is wrong." Liu Bei, with a black face and no explanation, directly placed Adou under his armpit and planned to take him to pay respects to General Huang Zhong. He was determined to discipline his son well from today on, at least not to be unable to even enter the ancestral temple like in later history. Cute New on the road, seeking care. I have 2 shifts every day, one in the afternoon and one in the evening, and I will add shifts from time to time. Thank you for your support. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. New Gifts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. New Gifts. Zhuge Liang's office has always been dedicated, but that premise is that he has not been disturbed by anyone else. With a loud bang, Zhang Fei, whose face turned red from drinking, accidentally broke a jar, and Zhuge Liang on the other side couldn't help it anymore. What do the three generals intend to do? Hee hee. Zhang Fei let out a happy hiccup. Brother Zilong told me that you and your elder brother worship the auspicious omen in the side hall, military master. So I plan to also offer a sacrifice and invite the younger generation in the light curtain. Hiccup. To have a drink together. Zhuge Liang temporarily put down his work and watched Zhang Fei busy, unsure of what to say for a moment. In the end, as Zhang Fei was about to command his soldiers to carry half a pig in, Zhuge Liang had no choice but to quickly reach out and stop it. If he didn't stop it, he doubted whether this side hall could survive today. General San, withdraw all of this and I will take charge. Zhuge Liang took over the command without hesitation and ordered the soldiers to lift the half-mouthed pig back. The chaotic bills, incense burners, yellow paper, dog blood, and other items that have been inserted on site have all been removed. If one knows that this is a prayer and sacrifice, the servants who bring things may have already started to spread rumors that this Gong'an County government is haunted. The three generals are all good, but unfortunately, the habit of drinking alcohol is really difficult to evaluate. Zhuge Liang roused in his heart while putting the three small jars brought by Zhang Fei right under the light curtain in his memory. Second brother, you're also here. The military master is sacrificing the light curtain for me. Second brother, do you want to come together? Zhuge Liang heard Zhang Fei's voice behind him and turned around to see Guan Yu standing at the door curiously looking inside. The iconic beard is wrapped in a cloth bag for protection, and wearing a short outfit with steaming heat, it looks like it's just been sweating in the martial arts arena. So. Guan Yu's jujube-colored face showed a hint of contemplation. Master, wait for me. However, in an instant, Guan Yu had already gone and returned, holding a roll of bamboo slips in his hand. Sightseeing screen language, this younger generation's language style is quite unique. This is a volume of Spring and Autumn that Guan accidentally obtained when breaking through Nanjun. It is gifted to the younger generation as a reward, and we also hope that they can read more and improve their cultivation. Guan Yu explained it this way. Kong Ming took it over clearly, and then spread a piece of silk cloth on the empty space in the center of the hall. 3 small jars and a roll of bamboo slips were placed together. He bowed to the center of the hall and Kong Ming spoke. Please have the auspicious omen manifest. This is the reward for General Guan Yu and General Zhang Fei's light curtain. In the dimly lit hall, a flicker of light caused several things on the ground to disappear. Kong Ming also seemed to have a clear understanding in his heart. It seems that this auspicious light curtain is really like what the Lord said, not limited to form, emphasizing that a sincere heart is spiritual. Guan Yu bowed meticulously to thank the military advisor and dragged away Zhang Fei, who was still clamoring for a drink. He was too aware of this brother-in-law's bad breath. There were quite a few deliveries this time, and when Mang received a phone call and managed to persuade the courier to deliver them to his doorstep. Surprisingly, as expected, this gift was also very simple. A roll of bamboo slips that exudes a strong sense of time, with a piece of paper attached that reads. Han shouting Marquis Pian General Guan Yunchang, gift. 3 exquisitely crafted small jars, each with a piece of paper attached, which reads. Han Zhonglang presented Zhang Ida as a gift. The handwriting on the 2 pieces of paper is delicate and beautiful, clearly from the same person's hand. Hey, don't say anything. When Mang smiled, our fans' way of urging updates is quite emotional. Arrange the things properly, and the sound is like another photo upload, with only a simple line of text. A new video is being made. After thinking about it, when Mang decided to post this photo and the jade pendant from last time on his social media. After all, this is also a small step towards becoming a full-time video host, worth celebrating. Why don't you order a crayfish and indulge yourself while watching the video tonight? Kong Ming, who had just finished his soup cake in Gong'an County, touched his stomach and looked at the light curtain unfolding on his head. It was not surprising that I personally delivered the items on behalf of General Zhang and General Zhang. Surprisingly, there was also a picture that looked like food that came with it. That was something Kong Ming had never seen before, very similar to shrimp, but several times larger in size. They were placed in a large bowl, paired with red sauce and a few vegetables, and surprisingly, unexpectedly, they had an appetite. Especially in the current winter, Kong Ming felt his saliva secreting. How did he feel hungry after finishing his soup cake? Let's take a look at the comments. Laughing to death, to be honest, this fan is quite sophisticated. During the Battle of Red Cliffs, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei held this official position. It's really thoughtful. The bamboo slips are really difficult to handle now. Have you opened those jars and taken a look? What's inside? No matter what's inside, it's not as authentic as this pot of crayfish. To be honest, I'm constantly talking online about dreams from ancient times. I don't know what's good about it. I can't eat chili peppers, crayfish, or crayfish. It's not that bad either. The crayfish we often eat now is the original crayfish from the United States, which was introduced from Japan. However, there are also 3 types of original crayfish in China, including the northeastern crayfish, the Shirs crayfish, and the Korean crayfish. However, all 3 types of crayfish are produced in northeast China. In theory, the 3 kingdoms can also enjoy garlic-flavored crayfish. But perhaps only Boss Chow can open his mouth and help him eat, so it should be difficult to get prepared. If Sun Shirwan wants to eat, he will have to go steal it from his navy. There's nothing we can do. Our ancient shipbuilding techniques have all gone to building ships, and that kind of navigation is really useless. Although there were sailors during the spring and autumn period, it wasn't until 1600 years later that Zheng went on voyages to the west in the Ming dynasty. But fortunately, 600 years after Zheng He's voyages to the west, we already have aircraft carriers, and we have also mastered the pinnacle of human military power in our mobile territories. Go and call General Guan and General Zhao over, Kong Ming instructed as he went out. He understands the principle of one person calculating the short, and analyzing these words with multiple people may reveal some completely different intelligence. However, in just a few breaths, Kong Ming saw Guan Yu and Zhao Yun running over. Seeing Kong Ming standing at the door with the doors and windows tightly closed, he had already guessed 7 or 8. As soon as Zhao Yun walked in, he looked up and saw the dazzling pot of crayfish, but unfortunately it was just a picture. Isn't this a crayfish? Zhao Yun blurted out. General Zhao recognized this object. When I was young, I followed General Gongsun Zan and saw this kind of thing in Liaodong. Locals called it crayfish, but it was smaller in size compared to this one. Zhao Yun gestured and said, however, the locals usually eat it simply by grilling it. The muddy and fishy taste is slightly stronger and the meat is less. Children will dig up some to satisfy their cravings and grill it themselves. Kong Ming smiled and said, then when we defeat the Chow thief, we must go to Liaodong to see what the taste of this thing will be when cooked with garlic. Guan Yu suggested, it seems that the descendants of this generation will respond quickly every time they receive something. After that, it would be best for us to offer sacrifices to the descendants together, and wait a little longer to avoid missing important information. Kong Ming nodded and said, General Guan's words are very reasonable. For example, now that Liu Bei is not around, the servant said that the Jingzhou herdsman took Adou out and said he was looking for General Huang. It is said that before leaving, the pastor of Jingzhou had a terrifying expression on his face, and he even gave Adou a rare beating, which made the servant feel heartbroken. Today's update, can you add a collection if you're interested? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Respecting Liu but not belittling Chow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Respecting Liu but not belittling Chow. In later generations, it seems that Liu Chuan is not very respected. Guan Yu found it difficult to accept. At the time of the Red Cliffs, both Cao Cao and the Eastern Wu's tower ships brought him a huge shock. The watchtowers that could sail on the water could store a ship of soldiers' rations for several months, and even the best horses could not catch up with them when they sailed down the river. In private, the generals on Liu Bei's side have also discussed what to do when facing the building ship, but no matter what they think, it seems difficult to directly defeat the building ship. The building ship has left traditional generals such as Guan Yu and Zhang Fei powerless, but this behemoth is only praised by the younger generation with two simple words: useless, and even disdainful of further discussion. Isn't this a good thing? Kong Ming thought from a different perspective. The purpose of building such sharp weapons is to fight rivers and rivers. If the younger generation looks down on it so much, it either indicates that they have better building ships, or it indicates something. Zhao Yun also understood, and said, either the later generations of China have returned to unity, and rivers and lakes are all Han soil. The building boats specialized in river wars are of no use to them. The three of them fell silent for a moment, with a look of remembrance on their faces. Rivers and lakes are all Han soil. Isn't that like a strong man? And it seems to be better. From the light screen, when Mang's relaxed attitude towards judging history, as well as the food he shared and other people's responses, all indirectly demonstrate that life in later generations is really quite good. Kong Ming whispered, 500 years ago was the spring and autumn period. The past 1,600 years of the spring and autumn period were the Ming dynasty, and another 600 years were the era of the younger generation. That is to say, the narrator of the light curtain is the younger generation of us after 1700. Emperor Gaozu has only been slaying the white snake for 400 years. The three of them fell silent again, and Zhao Yun said in a stern voice, 1,700 years later, they said they had an aircraft carrier, but they don't know what kind of thing it really is. Those who have seen a building ship in the Red Cliffs are all amazed by its size, like a palace sailing on the water surface. But younger generations describe their aircraft carrier as a floating territory, and the pinnacle of human military power, making it difficult for the three civil and military officials to imagine what it really looks like. Is an aircraft carrier, as the name suggests, the mother of a ship? Kong Ming tried to guess literally. So, in this swimming territory, can we still anchor ships? Isn't that like a kunpeng? The three of them imagined that future generations had used some kind of celestial means to drive a piece of land to swim on the sea. There were also people growing crops and raising cattle and sheep on this land, and dozens of ships much larger than building ships were moored on the edge of this land. I can't even imagine it. But the younger generation's claim is that they also mastered this power. Guan Yu discovered a blind spot, which means that our younger generation was not the first to master this power. Who is it? Perhaps it was Japan, perhaps it was America. Kong Ming waved his feather fan and shook his head. Perhaps, to the west of Kunlun, south of Lingnan, east of the East China Sea, and north of the grasslands, there were powerful countries that we had not yet encountered or understood. Perhaps future generations had already communicated with them and met in battle. Kong Ming pushed open the window and looked at the bright moon, saying softly. But these are all things that we find difficult to imagine, because we must first revitalize the Han dynasty and avoid following the old path of returning 3 parts to Jin and 5 barbarians and chaos. This is the most realistic thing we can do for future generations now. A simple gathering at night ended so easily. It brought great shock to Zhao Yun and Guan Yu, but those shocks were very far away from them. The two of them also understood that, as the military advisor said, striving to revive the Han dynasty was the most beneficial thing they could do for future generations. 4 days later, Liu Bei returned, at the cost that Liu Chan, who was originally fair and chubby, had now turned into a black mud monkey and lost quite a bit of weight. It is said that after Adou returned, he cried with Zhang Fei's leg in his arms, which was a pitiful sight. Those who heard it were sad and those who saw it shed tears. And that night's brief conversation, Kong Ming also earnestly informed Liu Bei, and Liu Bei was very moved. A few days later, it was still this familiar side hall, but this time it was even more crowded. This time, there were 6 people waiting for the light curtain to display. A simple-dressed veteran with white beard and hair, thick calluses on his hands, sharp eyes, and a clear indication that he is a remarkable figure in the world. However, this veteran with sharp eyes is now a bit reserved. There's no way, among these people in the room, Huang Zhong ranks first in terms of age, in terms of achievements, he ranks last. At the age of over 40, he was only appointed as the Zhonglang general by Liu Bei. He wasted 18 years without achieving any accomplishments and dared not speak loudly here. Huang Zhong only arrived in Gong'an County yesterday and was informed today that he had important matters to discuss. What did he see after coming in? Wen Jiu beheaded Hua Xiong, and Guan Yunchang executed Yan Liang among the thousands of soldiers. Dangyang Bridge drinks Zhang Yida, who retreats the Chao army. Zhao Zilong, who entered and exited Changbanpo 7 times. Bo Wangpo burned down the Chao army and engaged in verbal battles with scholars, leading to the formation of Zhuge Kongming, the military commander of the Sun-Lu alliance. How can I, Huang Zhong and Hida, be on par with them here? Liu Bei smiled slightly to ease Huang Zhong's nervousness. Han Sheng has arrived. I have already reserved a spot for you, just wait. Wait. What are you waiting for? Huang Zhong was filled with doubts in his heart, but he still knelt down and sat in his seat. However, after a cup of tea, the hall suddenly shone brightly, and a light curtain slowly unfolded in mid-air. Huang Zhong was shocked. I thought you were waiting for the envoy of Cao Cao or Sun Quan, but you ended up waiting for such auspiciousness. Huang Zhong's mouth widened in surprise, and Zhang Fei waved his hand nonchalantly, saying, Why is General Huang so surprised? It's just a auspicious light curtain. By the way, do you know why Sun Quan is not qualified to unify the world? Huang Zhong fell silent. Silence is today's public security county government. Zhang Fei continued to ramble on, Hey, I'm telling you not to spread rumors, because that Sun Quan is a two-faced villain and doesn't have the courage to kill like his brother. As a result, his subordinates can't control it. They keep fighting inside every day, it's getting too intense. At this moment, even Zhao Zilong, who usually pays the most attention to his demeanor, looked at Huang Zhong with a smile on his face. General Zhao suddenly found a different kind of happiness in this behavior. Fortunately, Liu Bei couldn't bear to watch any more and scolded, Third brother, step down and focus on what the light curtain said later. Immediately, Liu Bei turned his head to look at Huang Zhongdao and said, General, do you know what an aircraft carrier is? Huang Zhong. You're not finished, are you? The light curtain remains the same, starting with music and then patterns and text. Dang 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 dang, hello everyone, today we will continue to talk about the Three Kingdoms. After the previous video was released, some friends expressed that they were too biased towards Liu Bei, believing that the up-host was influenced by the romantic saying, respect Liu and demote Cao. But in reality, if we only look at the romance, the manifestation of respecting Liu is actually only reflected in the concept of loyalty to the monarch, and even in some matters, there are Zhongguanli Dai. For example, Volume 14 of the Records of the Three Kingdoms records that Cheng Yu used ren meat as military rations for Cao Cao. Taizu was short of food, so he lived in his own county and provided 3 days of food, mixed with human breast. On this matter, Cheng Yu is also a ruthless person. He attacked his own parents and fellow villagers to raise military supplies for Ah Meng. Ordinary people really can't do such a despicable thing. This incident not only conceals the romance of the Three Kingdoms, but also fictionalizes a scene where Luan kills his wife and feeds Liu Bei. That is to say, there is respect for Liu in the romance, but the demotion of Cao is completely unnoticed. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Chao's Tradition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Chao's Tradition. At the end of the Han dynasty, both natural and man-made disasters occurred. Since the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the 10 constant attendants rebelled, Dong Zhuo went to the capital, the feudal lords attacked Dong, and Yuan Shu proclaimed himself emperor. Over the past 20 years of war, heroes have emerged, showcasing capable officials and powerful generals, but also trampling on the lives of more ordinary people in the mud and water. Selling children and women, using grass to satisfy hunger, plagued by locusts and moths, and even human cannibalism, have been seen or heard of by people in Jingzhou over the years, but what Chen Yu did, how could Chen Zhongde be so ruthless? Liu Bei was surprised. No wonder when in Xuchang, others commented that Chen Yu had a tough personality and was so petty when interacting with many people. Guan Yu shook his head in disdain. Unexpectedly, Cao Mengde's foolish loyalty has come here. Kong Ming also shook his head and sighed. Even if Cao gains the world, what can Chen Yu gain? Even if he ranks among the 3 nobles, Chen Yu's hometown will always remember this shameless butcher who used his father's bones and flesh to feed the army. 400 years back, Xiang Yu still refused to cross the river and committed suicide because he had no face to see the elders of Jiangdong. Why did this later generation smear Big Brother? Zhang Fei was very dissatisfied. Liu Bei remained indifferent and said, if it's true, it's true. Even if the younger generation has been separated from us for 1,700 years, they can still know that this is just a rumor. With such a broad-mindedness, Huang Zhong couldn't help but feel the idea that he truly deserved to be Lu Jingzhou. Only Zhang Fei remained indignant and planned to turn back and find 2 storytellers to arrange jokes for Cao Mengde. Isn't he fond of widows? Arrange 5 for him. No, 8 or 10. The selective blindness of Cao in the romance is not only the case of Chen Yu, but also a few typical examples. According to the records of the 3 kingdoms, Cao launched a campaign against Lu Bu in October, slaughtered Pengcheng, and captured the Prime Minister of Pengcheng, Ho Xie. I didn't write this paragraph directly, skip it. The records of the 3 kingdoms record that Zhang Miao and Zhang Chao rebelled against Cao, who besieged Yongqiu for several months. After breaking the city, Yongqiu was slaughtered and Zhang Chao and all his family members were beheaded. In the romance, the city was hidden and the cause of Zhang Chao's death was changed to self-immolation. The Book of Later Han recorded that during the Battle of Guan Yu, Yuan Shao surrendered 80,000 soldiers, but the romance of changes changed this 80,000 to killing during the war. The Book of Later Han clearly records that Cao slaughtered Yi City and occupied women of the Yuan family. The romance was changed to strictly prohibit disturbance to the people and the Yuan family after the destruction of Yi City. This was a blatant act of taking care of Cao's face. After all, this time the destruction of Yi City abducted Yuan Shao's daughter. Law Zhenmi, who later became the wife of Emperor Wen of Wei and the biological mother of Emperor Ming of Wei. The records of the 3 kingdoms repeatedly record that Cao had a military order that those who besiege and surrender will not be pardoned, which was completely hidden in the romance. The records of the 3 kingdoms have repeatedly recorded that under the rule of Cao, the corvée was heavy and the people suffered unbearable hardships, even leading to direct uprisings. In the romance, it is also directly hidden. The various embellishments in the romance led the audience to discover that Cao's wrongdoing was just that, so some people said it was true, and even turned to criticize Liu Bei's love for crying as a hypocrite, which was ridiculous. Big Brother loves to cry. Zhang Fei's ears twitched. This should just be a rumor from later generations, Guan Yu laughed. I remember the last time my elder brother cried, it was because Tian Guoreng resigned, and he shed tears saying that he wished we could achieve great things together. I remember my elder brother only cried this time, and he couldn't be counted as someone who loves to cry. Fortunately, Tian Guoreng ran fast. Later, we lost to LV Bu and Xiaopei and ran back and forth against Cao. If Tian Guoreng were still here, our bodies might not be able to withstand the wind and rain, Zhang Fei said quietly. Liu Bei remained silent, only using his sharp eyes to gouge out Zhang Fei's sword. Third brother, don't you think about why Liu Bu could turn the tables? Kong Ming and Zhao Zilong were still burying their heads in copying, but during the copying process, Kong Ming's eyes lit up and he said, "Look at this." Later, someone specifically wrote history for us. Studying history is not an ordinary treatment. I just don't know what my position is in this history book. How will future generations evaluate it? Only Huang Zhong in the hall had a confused expression on his face. As a warrior, he was only appointed as the Zhonglang general of the Liu Biao in Jingzhou at the age of 40, wandering outside the core of power. After 20 years of mediocrity, he made up his mind to sell an old bone to the new Liu Jingzhou. However, he did not expect to see so many things in just 2 days. But he understood the events in the light curtain, counting them one by one, and listened to the Lord's meaning. This was being told by the younger generation over 1,000 years from now, so. An unrealistic wish emerged in Huang Zhong's heart. So this Cao Ah man later became Emperor Wen of Wei. You're so shameless. Zhang Fei didn't see his older brother looking at him like a swordsman, but turned his attention to a new aspect. Perhaps Emperor Wen of Wei was the son of Cao Ammonius. Guan Yu had a different opinion. Everyone knows that Cao likes married women. Isn't that how his eldest son died? Zhang Fei spoke confidently, breaking the city and plundering. This is still Yuan Shao's daughter. In law. Isn't this just the part that Chao's bandits are interested in? Guan Yu remained speechless and reminded, Cao Aman and Yuan Shao are acquaintances of the same generation. If they invade their daughter. In law, it would be impolite. Do you think Cao Thief cares about these things? But what you said, second brother. But if Emperor Wen of Wei is his son, it's not surprising. Both father and son like married women. Is this their tradition in the Cao family? Zhang Fei laughed heartily. The hall fell silent for a moment. Zhang Fei's words were vulgar, but it seemed like that was really the case. Cao is truly a human butcher. Zhao Zilong exclaimed while copying. Human butcher was originally used to refer to Bai Qi, because Bai Qi killed 400,000 surrendered soldiers in World War I. Although Cao did not kill as many surrendered soldiers as Bai Qi, he slaughtered the city much, so others did not object to this title. After discussing the true face of Cao in history, let's talk about today's topic. When did the Cao family lose the world? Similarly, it's still romance, because we only look at the surface, and later Sima Yi is also considered half the protagonist, so everyone feels like the emperor of the Cao family is doing well, eating hot pot and singing songs, suddenly being robbed by Sima. If we can generalize it in one sentence, it is that Cao Wei died in the Sima clan, but in reality, he died in the internal strife. If the reason why Sun and Wu could not be unified was because the subject was weak and the object was strong, then the problem with Cao Wei was a struggle between two tigers. The most blatant manifestation of the power struggle within the Cao Wei dynasty can be seen from Cao Zhi's seven-step poem, which also gave birth to a famous illusion. He was born from the same root, but he was too anxious. Why is it too urgent to criticize each other? Liu Bei said that there is a common saying. In earlier years, when Cao was also a Han minister, he wanted to kill him countless times. Unexpectedly, later on, Cao's parent-child struggle became even more intense. This is really. Liu Bei picked up the tea on the table and drank it all in one gulp. It was refreshing. There are two traditional conglomerates within Cao Wei. The Ruiying aristocratic group represented by strategists such as Guo. The Qiao Pei military group, with Xiahou Chao and other generals as its core. In the early days of Cao's vassal power, there was much more time spent in wars than in politics, so military power was held in the hands of the Qiao Pei group at that time. But after the Battle of Red Cliffs in the later period, the territory of Cao Wei had been basically determined, military operations had decreased, and Cao's old age led to the need to put the matter of establishing a crown prince on the agenda. The friction between the two groups also became more and more frequent. The two groups officially launched a real fire because in 219 AD, a figure named Wei Xiu launched a rebellion. Tou Han Liu Bei. What? Cute new on the road seeking care, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tou Han La. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Tou Han La Wei satire is another blind spot in romance. History records that Wei satirized the talented individuals who misled others, which is clearly an evaluation of a failure. At the same time, because Cao Wei himself was also very secretive about this period of history, we can only guess from the surface. Wei satire comes from Paisian, which determines that even if he is not a member of the Qiao Pei group, he will naturally approach the Qiao Pei group. At the end of the Han dynasty, the views of the feudal lords were particularly serious. When the literati of Ruing saw that you came from Paisian County, it was considered good not to spit on you twice. Wei's satirical rebellion was a very delicate point in time. Starting from 217 AD, Liu Bei and Cao Cao's struggle for Hanzhong entered a white heat, and at this time, Cao Cao had not lived for many years. In 218 AD, Hou Yin, the defending general of Wancheng, joined forces with Guan Yu to launch a rebellion, but was later defeated and killed Hou Yin. Guan Yu secretly remembered this name in his heart. In the Battle of Dingjun Mountain in January of 219, Huang Zhong's army beheaded Xiahou Yuan. In May, Cao Cao's army led Chang'an, but the Battle of Hanzhong was completely defeated. In July of the same year, Guan Yu besieged Fancheng, and in August, he drowned the 7th Army and captured Pangda, who had been banned and beheaded. At this moment, there was a festive atmosphere in the side hall, and if servants passed by and saw it, they would definitely think that the generals had celebrated the Chinese New Year ahead of schedule. The light curtain was only a short line of words, but it was a shocking battle report. Huang Zhong had an incredulous expression on his face, while Guan Yu had a rosy complexion. However, the slightly raised eyebrows and corners of his mouth also showed that he was in a good mood. General Huang is old and tough, and he has made significant contributions to helping the Lord win the Battle of Hanzhong. General Guan has 1 enemy, 3 enemies, 1 encirclement, 1 capture, and 1 chop, making him a world-renowned general. Zhao Yun smiled and said. Guan Yu arched his hand, and no one was surprised. Everyone knew that Guan Yu never spoke polite words. Huang Zhong was a bit at a loss, or did Zhang Fei casually squeeze over and pat him on the back, saying, "Don't be afraid, brother Huang. What this light curtain says is basically true. Since you can still kill Xiahou Yuan in the army in 10 years, can't you fight Zilong's wrist now?" Huang Zhong dared not dare again and again, but a different expectation sprouted in his heart. It turned out that I am really not old yet. Among the crowd, only Kong Ming silently counted the time. And at this delicate moment, Wei Suo conspired with the 2 sons of Wang Can, the second attendant, Liu Wei, the younger brother of Liu Shi, Zhang Quan, the son of Zhang Xiu, and the son of Song Zhong, a famous scholar in Jingzhou, to attack the Wei capital of Yi City. Chen Shi betrayed Wei Suo and chose to report to Cao Pai. At that time, Cao Pai, who was still a crown prince, carried out a purge, resulting in thousands of deaths. How could this not be successful? Zhang Fei sighed. Liu Bei, on the other hand, instinctively sensed the aura of conspiracy from it. The timing of Wei's satirical decision to defect to the Han dynasty was understandable and precise, but the subsequent whistleblowing, cleansing, sitting, and other operations were carried out too smoothly. Moreover, at that time, Cao Pai was only the crown prince, and the time when Cao Pai obtained this power was also included. It looks like digging a hole and waiting for someone to jump in. It doesn't matter which faction Wei satire belongs to, what's important is to see who is the big winner among them. After the purge, the Qiao Pei faction suffered a decline. In March of the following year, Cao Cao passed away, and Cao Pai became the king of Wei. In the same year, he ascended to the throne and established the state of Wei. In the same year, he ordered Chen Kun to establish the 9-rank Zhongzheng system. The emphasis is laid on the fact that only the 9th grade is the standard system, which makes your Yingshi win thoroughly. From then on, there will be no poor families in the top grade and no noble families in the bottom grade. So it doesn't matter which faction Wei sarcastically belongs to. The Ruiying group says he belongs to Qiao Pei, but he belongs to Qiao Pei high quality, no humble family. Liu Bei also caught the key point at once, and then his second thought came up. How can we play with this? Only Zhuge Liang can be considered a legitimate aristocrat, Zhang Fei can be considered a humble family, Guan Yu, Liu Bei, Huang Zhong, and Zhao Yun can even be considered a humble family. If this law is implemented, wouldn't people like them never have a bright future? After the Wei satire rebellion, the Xiahou family of the Qiao Pei group almost faded out, and this group was entirely supported by the Chao family. After all, Qiao Pai himself was also surnamed Chao, and after becoming emperor, he would also play with power and do not want the Ruiying family to dominate. So 30 years later, the new leader of the Ruiying group, Sima Shi, looked at Chao Shi and had an idea. Since your Chao Shi can usurp Han, why can't our Sima Shi usurp Wei? So they launched the Gaoping Mausoleum Rebellion, shifting from Wei to Jin. The Chao and Xiahou clans were exterminated by the barbarians, and Cao Cao's power was completely put to an end. The barbarians are so good. Zhang Fei clapped his hands and exclaimed. Liu Bei and Zhuge Liang looked at each other without saying a word. The light curtain summarized the power struggle of Qiao Wei for 30 years in just a few lines. In this struggle, there was no right or wrong, only standing in line, filled with power and conspiracy, but it was still a bit satisfying. Liu Bei finally burst out laughing and said, Qiao Thief must have never imagined that all the things he did to the Han dynasty would ultimately be attributed to his descendants. Kong Ming shook his head and said, I remember 10 days ago in the light curtain, someone said that Sima Yi was Liang's archenemy. I didn't expect him to be such an ambitious person. Is this Wei satire? Guan Yu asked, although he had not yet taken Yizhou, he remembered very clearly that Guan Mu mentioned that it was him who guarded Jingzhou for a long time. Huang Zhong also took the initiative to express his opinion for the first time. If we were to divide the factions like Guan Mu said, the people who Wei satirized and defected to Han were all from the Jingzhou faction. Wang Can and Zhang Xiu had both defected to Lu Jingsheng, while Lu Qian was promoted by Lu Jingsheng. Song Zhong was also an authentic Jingzhou scholar. With Huang Zhong's additional information, Kong Ming quickly guessed. These people may all be dissatisfied with Chao's evil intentions. After all, the people of Jingzhou are neither the Qiao Pei faction nor the Ruiying faction, just like the idol Su Yuanji. But this Wei satire himself may also be a wolf's ambition. Although his banner was to defect to Han, he directly attacked Yi City. Inside, he was still like a Chao thief, only thinking about once in power. Liu Bei agreed and silently gave a thumbs up. Is that all for analysis? Of course not. After all, what we are talking about is why Qiao Wei did not have the ability to unify. Being busy with internal conflicts may seem like the correct answer, but the fundamental reason is still the lack of popular support. Whether it is Ruiying group or Qiao Pei group, both groups are authentic aristocratic groups. The difference is that Ruiying is considered an old aristocrat, while Qiao Pei is a military newcomer. The commonality is that they cannot represent the interests and voices of the people. Just like how Wei satire can incite rebellion. Of course, not being reused is one reason, but more importantly, Liu Bei has been carefully managing Jingzhou for 7 years, and everyone can see who truly does the job. Just like the later evaluation of the locals in Jingzhou. Cherishing the kindness of Liu Bei and fearing the martial arts of Sun Quan. However, most people who say this have not seen how embarrassing Xiaoyao Jin Sun Quan is. Similarly, there is Chengdu, where the Wuhou Temple stands tall and still shines with fragrance. Even today, people from Chengdu often go to see Lianggu and Bei Bei when they have something to do. It's like looking at their families. For example, later on, Mengde first rebelled against Liu Bei and then against Cao Wei. Although he failed, it can still be considered as a recognition of Liu Bei. We don't need this kind of two-sided recognition, do we? Today's update is presented, cute news seeking attention. Furthermore, although Zhang Fei and the Xiahou family were theoretically in-laws, they were linked to the status of women at that time according to historical records. Zhang Fei's way of marrying the Xiahou clan was liuezhi, which has never been a positive term in history. Later, when Lu Chan mentioned that his empress and Xiahou clan were also related by marriage, the essence was actually just to appease Xiahou Ba. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 3 Family Slaves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. 3 Family Slaves. Mengde is also a relatively familiar character in the Three Kingdoms. After Liu Bei took control of Chengdu, he surrendered and served alongside Fa Zheng, Li Yan, Deng Zhi, and others. Later, when Guan Yu was trapped by the Mian River, Mengde persuaded Lu Feng to refuse Guan Yu's request for help, which directly led to Guan Yu's defeat in Maicheng and his beheading along with his eldest son Guan Ping. Guan Yu's position in Shu Han was well known. Due to his fear of Liu Bei's punishment, Mengde surrendered to Cao Wei with 4,000 troops. Lu Feng refused Mengde's persuasion and was executed by Liu Bei after returning to Chengdu. Liu Bei blinked his eyes and was puzzled. Why did my son refuse to save my uncle from death? When Liu Bei lived in Jingzhou as a guest, he had no children, so he adopted Lu Feng as his adopted son. This adopted son had a strong personality and a love for martial arts. He often said that he would lead troops to fight in the future to share his father's worries. Isn't it because Adou's care for Feng Er gradually decreased after his birth that he harbored resentment? Liu Bei speculated. Guan Yu patted Liu Bei's shoulder and said comfortingly, "Who can tell what will happen 10 years later," and the light curtain also said that it was Mengde who instigated it on the side. Big brother doesn't need to blame himself too much. Zhang Fei shouted, "Since Mengde Snake and Rat have disobeyed military orders, don't be afraid to be punished. What kind of man is he? Even if such a person escapes to Cao Cao's side, he will be ridiculed. And later he also wants to betray Cao's bandits. I'm a servant with 3 surnames." Everyone in the hall looked sideways, and Huang Zhong couldn't help but cover up his embarrassment. In theory, although he was not valued, he could still be considered a genuine former minister of Liu Biao. Mengde, who surrendered to Cao Wei, received great treatment, not only because he had 4,000 songs, but also because he was in contact with the sensitive timing of his surrender to Cao Wei. Do you still remember the Wei satire mentioned earlier? The slogan of the uprising is to revive the Han dynasty, so Mengde, who betrayed the Han dynasty in the same year, is worth promoting as a typical example. In March of the following year, Cao Cao died of illness, with the intention of persuading and buying horse bones. In short, Mengde lived a very comfortable life in Cao Wei. After Cao Pai entered Emperor Wen of Wei, he was rewarded with the title of Pingyang Tingho, and the 3 counties of Fangling, Shangyong, and Xicheng were merged into a new city, appointing Mengde as the governor of the new city. Zhao Yun laughed and said, "General San, it seems that you guessed wrong, and your mistake is outrageous." Zhang Fei was dumbfounded and couldn't understand this matter. He couldn't help but mutter, "Since Wei Xuan wants to take down Cao Cao's own power, why do you call for the revival of the Han family? The Han family is with my elder brother, how good would you be to join him directly?" Liu Bei remembered his experiences when he lived in Jingzhou as a guest. Under the guidance of the Jingzhou aristocrats, Lu Jingsheng deposed the eldest and established the youngest, ultimately burying his lifelong legacy. Later, Guanmu also mentioned the twists and turns between Pang Tong and Zhou Yu, and then between Pang Tong and himself. This Jingzhou aristocratic family really taught Liu Bei a solid lesson. Wei Shi's heart was mostly devoid of the Han family, and people from Jingzhou were extremely good at forming alliances. In the end, under the instigation of Wei Shi, they took risks and strived for a better future. Huang Zhong, a native of Jingzhou, said he was sent by Cue. Half of Jingzhou's people, Kong Ming, also expressed that they have been caught. But immediately after seeing Cao Cao's death and the direction of defense for the transformation of the old city into a new city, a vague speculation arose in Kong Ming's heart. No wonder some people in later generations will lament that after General Guan's defeat in Maicheng, Shu Han had no chance again. Perhaps it was because General Guan was so close to success before his defeat in Maicheng. When surrendering to Cao Wei, Meng De and Xiahou Shang attacked Lu Feng together, so the two gradually became friends. Later, they befriended Huan Jia and were branded with the clear Qiao Pei group. In 226 AD, Qiao Pai passed away in Luoyang, and Meng De lost his greatest support. Moreover, because the Qiao Pei group had completely weakened, Meng De was well aware of his difficult situation. After careful consideration, he made a major decision. Otherwise, he should go to Han. The new surrender only lasted for 6 years and then recurred. Isn't the speed of changing the family too fast? Liu Bei was surprised. Meng Da's good treatment resulted in running away at any time. Is Cao Wei's daughter buying horse bones so worthless? Or is the internal strife within Cao Wei so fierce? Ha! 3 surnames of domestic slaves. Zhang Fei sneered. Or Huang Zhong pointed out the blind spot. Did Qiao Pai die of illness after 6 years of his reign? Did he die so early? This reminded him of the Huang family's only child who had already passed away due to illness. 6 years. Kong Ming knew the basic situation of various forces like the palm of his hand, and he pinched his fingers to calculate. Qiao Pai died at the age of 40. 40 years old in the late Han and Three Kingdoms period is not considered a premature death, but after only 6 years of reign, the dragon chair was not yet warm, which is also considered an early death in this regard. Zhang Fei looked around and pointed one by one. Big brother was killed by that Lu Sun's anger. He died at the age of 63. If he hadn't experienced this, he might have lived even longer. My second brother is unlucky. When he died, he was about 60 years old. In theory, it could have been even longer. The military advisor passed away at the age of 54, not even reaching the age of 60. You should pay more attention to your health in daily life. Hey, my old Zhang is 17 years older than the military division. Zhang Fei pinched his fingers and calculated. That means I, old Zhang, at least live to be 70 years old like General Huang. No, why did you suddenly have such a strong competitive heart at this point? Kong Ming looked at Zhang Fei with pity. After the 3 generals left the battlefield, they said that it sounded like a child's heart, and that it was unpleasant because sometimes they were out of tune, and often at this time sure enough. Liu Bei was too lazy to have a headache anymore. He pouted and Guan Yu stood up silently, lifting Zhang Fei's neck and walking away. Third brother, although the kitchen hasn't prepared any food and drinks yet, why don't you go and take a look first? I don't want to drink. No, you want to drink, and you also want to go to the martial arts arena to exercise your martial arts skills after drinking. Third brother, be good, second brother will beat you up after listening to the light curtain. For a moment, both the guests and the hosts were enjoying themselves harmoniously. However, Meng Da's decision belonged to the micro-manipulation of the Prime Minister. Perhaps it was because the intelligence system of Shu Han was too strong, or perhaps the Prime Minister's insight was insightful. In short, he noticed Meng Da's contradictory situation, so he pushed and contacted Meng Da by letter, exchanging gifts, and then sent a person named Guillemot to feign surrender, revealing Meng Da's intention to defect to Wei and return to Shu to Shen-Yi. There are not many records of Shen-Yi in history. He and his brother Shen Dan were appointed as the prefect of Shangyong by Cao Cao. After Lu Feng and Meng Da defeated Shangyong, they surrendered and became Lu Feng's subordinates. When Lu Feng was later attacked by Xiahou Shang and Meng Da, Shen-Yi quickly knelt down and made a colleague with Meng. After surrendering, Shen Yi was appointed as the prefect of Wei Xing. This place was relatively peaceful, and when Shen Yi was idle, he focused on one thing: reporting to Mengde. Therefore, the Prime Minister's operation is not only very obvious, but at least it can be said that everyone knows Sima Zhao's intentions. Shen Yi Shendan. Kong Ming silently searched for his name in his heart, and finally found it in a corner of his memory. I have seen the names of these two brothers in the Chu Pingyir memorial. They should be local tycoons who were close to Zhang Lusu. After the memorial was submitted, Cao Cao appointed Shen Dan as the prefect of Shanyong. First win over, then feign surrender, and reveal it to his notorious adversaries. Liu Bei had a keen sense of smell and almost understood it at a glance. Did you borrow a knife to kill someone? There is relatively little research on Wei satire, so in the end, Chen Yinka's research was still adopted, who is a native of Peixian County. The hidden content of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms is actually quite exciting. End of this chapter.